Hello and welcome to Mistakes Were Made. This is a channel that I created to document my family's progress with debt reduction and eventual elimination. Today is a special budget recap, and we're just going to get right to it. This is for the 1st of June through the 15th of June, and we'll get started with income. So no changes with the income for Mr. M. Let me actually zoom in a little bit so you can see that better. However, we weren't quite sure what my standard pay was going to be. When we did the budget with me originally, we were in the second pay period of May, so we were waiting for that first paycheck that did not have an opportunity for any kind of bonus or incentive to be in it. So we kind of stuck with what had been the standard before, knowing that it should be higher. So it was $2,226 and 85 cents. We didn't have any miscellaneous income, but we definitely had a pretty good pay period for Etsy with a total of $92.03. And then again, because when we did our budget with me previously, we hadn't actually closed out that pay period, the May 16th through the 31st. We had guesstimated it might $200.87, but it was actually $200.54. Okay, so we're going to go and add this all up. So 1921.61 plus 2226.85 plus 9203 plus $200.54. That brings us to a total of $4,441.03. So next are our expenses. Not a lot of changes here, just the typical ones, for example. And again, I don't know why it does this. When we put in the auto pay for our mortgage, it's in there as $875, but for whatever reason, it will arbitrarily do $874.99. It's annoying. Don't know why it happens, but it doesn't affect our payment, so we're not short anything because we're always paying just a little bit more than the minimum that needs to be paid, but it's weird. Okay, then for Netflix, it's $15.49. For Kindle Unlimited, it is $11.99. My car insurance has that same issue for $114.33 instead of $114.34. The water bill actually ended up being $114.94, and his insurance was $204.58, so a penny off for that. And of course, these do not get funded during the first pay period. All right, so $874.99 plus $15.49 plus $11.99 plus $114.33 plus $114.94 plus $204.58. That comes to a total of $1336.32, and we will subtract that from our 44103 income, which brings us to $3,104.71. Now, there are going to be a couple of changes here. I've talked a little bit about the water bill. It is going to an every month cost instead of every other month, so we'll have to see how that impacts what we are currently paying. The other thing is my car insurance it renews in July, so the first payment in August is where I'm going to see an increase in cost. It's going up by $15 and some change to $129.50. So we will have some slight adjustments there as far as costs in the budget. Okay, so savings. We do not do anything with the emergency fund. We're not going to be entering anything here for the job loss savings or putting any cents next to the buffer amount, because if you are someone who watches our channel, you know we have to figure out all of our liabilities and responsibilities and get those squared away before we can see what might be available at the end of the pay period, and then determine what we would have available for savings and additional debt reduction. So for now, we'll keep those, keep that blank, and this will just be $200. So we still have our total there. We'll minus or add the 200 because it was a negative, which will bring that down to $2,904.71. Okay, now again, we don't have a lot of changes that typically occur here. We try very, very hard to stay within the budget allotments, and for the most part, we have been successful. So much of this is just going to be noting the same information here. Oh, well, we'll do it that way, $25. And, you know, that might make for a little bit of a boring situation because things aren't super dynamic. But at the same time, it's kind of nice to be able to rely on things being relatively the same, especially when you are trying to tackle certain goals and meeting certain processes, you know, doing what you need to do to get to the goals that you want to meet. That said, we did have a slight overage, and you guessed it, in grocery is $209.84 instead of just the $200. And this might be an opportunity where you would want to stop and say, okay, are we having overages regularly? Can we attribute those overages to anything? Is it a sign that we are slipping up, getting back to bad habits, spending arbitrarily, unwisely, purchasing things in the spur of the moment, and not keeping our budget in mind while we're doing our shopping? Those are all questions that, you know, if you're seeing kind of a pattern occur, that you'd want to ask yourself. So far, we can attribute pretty much all of the times that we have gone over to incorrectly adding things up with the calculator, not entering the correct information into the calculator. You know, instead of it being $3.40, it was entered as like $3.04, you know, things like that. This one was actually in part because when we bought soda, we forgot to calculate the bottle deposit amount in there, so we were off. And then we've had situations where we thought we were going to get a discount because of a coupon, but there was a fine print thing that we'd missed. I think one of them was you actually had to buy 2 of the item to get the cents off, and we had only actually picked up 1. So for now, we're not concerned that we've had some overages. And to be fair, for as many overages we've had, we've also had scenarios where we've been under by a couple of dollars and even up to $25 less. So we only spent around $75 for that particular week. So we're good here. We're also not looking at this as a sign that maybe we need to increase our grocery allotment. For right now, $100 seems to be working just fine. At some point, we probably will want to increase that, but I think that's going to be a decision that's made after we get through the job loss portion of all of this, and we're back to us both having a steady paycheck, hopefully going on into the future until we retire. But anyway, we are going to now move up to debt. So here we have our standard $400 payment for City. We do not pay anything for Discover. $175 for Reflect, which becomes a total of $575. And again, we're not going to enter anything into the extra debt payment because we don't know what, if any, that extra money is going to be. So let's grab this, and we are going to again add $575 to that total, which brings us to $2,329.71. I was allotted $30 for the no guilt spending. I didn't use exactly all of it. I think there was like either 86 or 89 cents left over. I just put that into our change jug. We're going to call it $30. It's not worth worrying about the cents there. So let's add 30. And that brings us to $2,299.71. Okay. And then we've got this, which we are Xing out. Oh my goodness, you know what? I completely forgot to finish this. I was so excited to get to the debt part. I didn't add all of this stuff up. Oh my goodness gracious. So we know that these are going to be wrong right here, which you didn't see me try and X that out. So wow, rewind. Okay, let's add this up. If you've been following my channel, you guys know why I'm excited. Oh my goodness. I just skipped all over a whole bunch of costs. Like I didn't have a care in this world. Okay, so this came to a total of $621.84. So we are going to take that from what was left at the savings level, so 2904.71, which brings us down to 2282.87. And so now we're going to add the 575 to that. This is a lot more reasonable. Let me get this here so that you can see. The total is going to be 1707.87, and then we'll add the $30 to that one, which brings it to 1677.87. And now we can get back on track. We have our $100 for the junk removal that was paid. And then let's X this out because we do not put anything towards that. So $100 total there. We'll add that there. And we are left with $1,577.87. Okay. So just to back things up a little bit, previously when we were doing our debt or a budget with me, we hadn't again finished the May 16th through 31st budget or pay period yet. We hadn't closed it out, so we didn't know what extra we might have to go towards debt. So at the time, our city balance was $2650. We were anticipating the $400 payment, which would bring it to $2,250. And when we did our Calculations here, we determined we'd have $925 to go towards that, which would leave $1,325 at that time. Now, keep in mind, there would be some kind of extra, and we just didn't know if we would meet that $1,325. We've moved beyond that. Once we had gotten through the May second pay period in May, our Citibank budget, ended up being $1,250. So that $400 actually dropped it down to $850. So now we are waiting to see if we have the money that we need. So we're going to go ahead and take $1,577.87. We're going to do our same triage of 75% to debt, 25% to savings. So we're going to subtract 75%, which brings us instead to a total of $394. So now we know $394 here. We also know that 87 cents is what's going to go on the rollover. And yes, I am kind of milking this here just a little bit. So $394 is what our actual savings amount is, and we'll add the 87 to there. So we get back to $1,577, we subtract $394, and we are looking at $1,183, which you all know means we definitely made that $850 requirement. Citi is done. Citi is paid. We have already done all of the transfers and payments that are associated with this budget recap. So I can say as of today, Citi is at a zero balance. So I don't have any bells or whistles or anything, so I'll just have to do a pew 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 sound for our celebration. But we're not done. We obviously know that we are taking $850 out of that, but that still leaves us with $333 to allocate. So since Citi is no longer a concern, we are going to put the Reflect card down here. And if you've been watching our channel, you know that we made the decision to have our next debt focus be the Reflect card. The reasoning behind that is it is on a 0% promo, which does have a deadline or an expiration date. So we want to make sure we are tackling that debt and getting it paid off before time runs out. If we were following either of the two kind of main methods, the snowball method, which is tackling your next lowest debt, or the avalanche method, which is tackling the debt that has the highest interest rate, we would be focusing on Discover, but we're not doing that. Reflect is going to be the next focus. So we are still going to, just like with Citi, follow the format for the money that we will triage to it. So for 0, 25, 50, 75, the closest for this 333 is going to be $325, which then, of course, means we have $8 available for Discover. So, wonderful. Not only were we able to clear out another debt completely, but we still had a little bit left over to start in on the newest debt focus, as well as a few dollars to go towards Discover. So all of our debts got a little bit of extra money. Very excited. Woohoo! So this is definitely the culmination of a lot of hard work, of us sticking to our budgets, and of course the benefit of having or continuing to currently have a good income coming in, and basically not spending that income. So we are going to go take a quick look at the calendar. Let me grab that from right over here. And this is the, let's zoom out just a bit. This is the calendar for the first half of June. Again, this is for anybody who hasn't watched our channel before. Those of you who are old hats, you can tune me out or, hear the same spiel. This is how we kind of review how the pay period is gone. We keep an eye on what's coming into the account, what's going out of the account, just to see, again, are there any patterns? Are there any things that run up red flags about how we're doing our spending? Because this is an ongoing process to break the habit of spending money just willy-nilly, just because you have it, without any real thought process to it. Habits are hard to break, so we have multiple things in place to try and keep ourselves on track. That isn't to say that we're not human and things will happen, but if we start to see something that's concerning, we expect that it'll show up more easily here because, I'm here and writing down all of the transactions. Whereas if we were just looking at it online, on our phone or whatever, it may not really resonate as being an issue or be as clear that, hey, I remember writing this down 2, 3, or 4 other times or something like that. So that's how we use this. There are probably a number of different ways you could utilize a calendar like this to your benefit. This is obviously also not going to work for everybody, so to each their own. So that's that. And then we are going to pop over here and take a quick look at the debt reduction for this particular pay period. This is only from June 1st through the 15th. So first things first, we've got city. As we mentioned, it was at $1,250 during at the beginning of this pay period. It is now at 0. Pew, 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 pew. I promise I'm not going to do that very much. I know it could probably get super annoying. But I'm just so excited. So that was a reduction of $1,250. Next, we have Discover, which started out at $97.57. It is now at $9,749.57, or a reduction of $8. And then the Reflect card, which started at $12,770 and is now at $12,270, which is a reduction of $500. And of course, these are all inclusive of that $1,183 that we were putting towards debt at the end of this pay period. So what does that mean in the grand scope of things? Our total debt at the beginning of June was $23,777.57. That's for our credit card debt. It came down to $22,019.57 for a total reduction of $1,758. Whew! So great progress, great progress being made. I'm really liking how we are balancing our debt reduction as well as continuing to save. I think that is really important. And I, again, thank the folks who had their head screwed on straight and made the suggestion of not going whole hog into working on the debt after we met our savings goal for the job loss cushion. I think it was very prescient and very important for us to continue to be saving, because who knows how long it'll take me to find a job once this one does go away. So a few other housekeeping items. The job situation. So the last information we had and we had shared was that the official word is we would be working through the end of June. That has changed. We have now been officially advised that we will be working through the end of July. But when I say we, I do mean the company as a whole. So including my department and myself, but it's not specific to us. So there's always the possibility that, word could come down and all of us in my department might get the word that we're going to be let go. It could we just don't know. But at least for right now, the expectation is through July, whereas before it was end of June. Now, there is a possibility that we could be working through September. Again, that's the big we, the company we. There were some hearings and stuff with the bankruptcy court, hoopla between two different sides, and the end result was the judge advised that my company would retain exclusivity rights. And so what I took from that, because I am no lawyer, is that they will be able to determine how business goes about, settling debts, getting people to pay the money that they owe and things like that. It's their decision on how to go about doing that for the next 90 days. So that would put us at potentially through September. It might just be through August. It kind of depends on when that 90 days starts, but possibly we could be working through September. Again, it's all up to the people, that have, different titles than I do, get paid far more more money than I do. They could make decisions that we need to see staffing levels come down more, and so possibly some of my people, and that could include me, would find themselves laid off between now and September. Maybe we'll all still be there to the bitter end. It's really kind of hard to say, but at this point, we've been living under this kind of process of month-to-month basis determining whether we have a job or not. So it's not anything new. But with that in mind, it does feel like the end is much, much closer. I may end up eating my words if something happens and I get word that we're working beyond September. But for now, it's kind of feeling like September is possibly that end of the line, if not sooner. So there are some things that we have been thinking about, and that includes the post-job budget options. And what I mean by that are what options do we have for our budget? Well, one is no changes. We just continue going through as we have been so far. The only difference being we would not have the opportunity for the extra money at the end of each pay period in the same way that we do now, because we're not going to be specifically budgeting that into the mix. Now, if something were to come about where we suddenly have a call on our money, God forbid somebody gets hurt and so we have medical bills, or one of the channels that I watch, her husband was in a car accident, so now they have to deal with a car payment. Any number of things can come up that would suddenly say, oh, we have a large cost that we weren't anticipating, and now we need to make adjustments. Well, we could reduce our debt payment. Right now, in the budget, we have $1,225. If we needed to, we could drop our payments down to just the minimums that we are paying. Not necessarily the minimum payments on the card, but the minimums we are paying for the remaining Reflect card and the Discover card. And those come to $425. So that would be an instant $800 opening up in the budget to try and absorb like some unexpected cost. We could, if we had to, reduce it all the way down to what the current actual minimums are, which would be $323 when you add them together. So another $100 available. We could reduce our wants. So, I think of the dining out category, our entertainment category as an example. Both of those right now, we are funding at $50 each per month. We could reduce that down by half and only do $25 each. There are certainly other cash envelopes that we could either reduce the money or remove them. We could eliminate the wants altogether. So, for example, AAA is not a requirement. Netflix, of course, dining out, entertainment, Kindle, Prime, my guilt-free allowance, all of those things are not crucial to us being able to stay in our home, being able to eat, being able to stay warm. I think they make it far more comfortable and happy because, not having any creative outlets or entertainment and stuff, I don't think that that's a good way to go. But if the situation warrants it and we need to make room in the budget for some cost, that's what we have to do. And just these together would be a reduction of $185. There are other items that we could take out of the picture that would increase how much we would be saving each month, but I just noted these ones. So those are things that we're talking about. As I said, we have no plans to change the budget, but the budget we do have has flexibility built into it in case we need it. So that's where we are. That is our debt reduction recap. I am very excited. It is such a load off to have another credit card off the table. Again, the fact that we are going to be able to start snowballing that money into the Reflect card, which is something that we will go a little bit more in depth with when we do our July budget with me. That's just going to help us get that much further. Obviously, with the job situation, the longer that I can stay employed, the better, because the more often we will have the potential for extra money at the end of the pay period. And because you guys know I like to create scenarios and kind of see what the future might hold. There are scenarios where if everything goes smoothly and as expected, we could get the next card paid by September. Things would have to go really, really well and have no surprises, but there is the possibility. And of course, that would mean I would have to keep my job through September as well. But the next goal for us, I would love for us to be able to get under $20,000 in total debt. And I would love for our Reflect card to get down under the $10,000 mark. I don't know if we're going to be able to make that a reality by the end of this current pay period, which is June 16th through the 30th, but we'll see where things land. I hope you will be there to see what the end result of this particular pay period is. And I am so excited that I was able to share our triumph over city. With everybody who has been so encouraging in the comments. Thank you so much. It is really very motivating to have people, at your back and cheering you on. And hopefully seeing us making progress for those who are in similar situations is motivating and helpful. If you haven't decided to subscribe yet, but you want to keep track of how we're doing, please consider doing so. And thank you, thank you, thank you. That's all I can say. I hope you enjoyed this. We will see you in the next one.